moving to item 12.3, Public Works Services. Back to Councillor Darling.
Thank you, Your Worship. Motion 12.3.1 is motion from the Committee of the Whole regarding the on-demand transit pilot results for the Town of Cobourg. The action recommended, whereas the Committee of the Whole meeting on May 9th, 2022, Council considered a memo from the Director of Public Works regarding the on-demand transit pilot results. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Council direct staff to implement a fully on-demand transit service, which is option 1 of the on-demand transit pilot results. And further, that Council approved the purchase of 2 small Arboc 8-liter specialty vehicles in the report Type B at an approximate cost of $160,000 each for a total cost of $320,000 with a total municipal contribution of $85,344, which is approximately 26.67%. And through Metrolinx, monitor the possibility of purchasing a hybrid version of the Type B vehicle. And further, that Council approve ending the hours of operation at 9 p.m., a reduction of 1 hour for an approximate savings of $20,000 annually. And that's under the report option 1. And further, that Council approve reducing the call center operating hours to match the operating hours of Century Transportation for a savings of approximately $29,000 annually, which was report option 2. And further, that Council authorize staff to renegotiate the transit operations contract with the current provide for the remaining two years to realign contract fees with the approved transit service option and vehicle types that is not to exceed the 2023-2024 fees of the current contract.
Seconder. Councillor Burkett. I know before I go to further discussion, Director, are you going to bring some relevant facts back to us as well, I believe? Thank you.
Thank you, through the chair. So at our last meeting, there were some questions about the call volume after 5 and after 7 p.m. So I was able to get those numbers. I can read them out for you. So as a percentage, after 5 p.m., there's 9% of the calls were received after 5, and this is just Monday to Friday. And after 7, it was reduced to 3.8% of the calls after 7. So yes, between 4 and 5, there was 6% of the calls. Between 5 and 6, we had 3.3% of the calls. Between 6 and 7 was 2.3. 7 and 8, 2.5%. 8 to 9 is 0.9%, and 9 to 10 is 0.2%. All of our total calls for the whole year, so 1 year pilot.
Okay, open the floor, Deputy Mayor.
Do you actually have the numbers as opposed to percentages?
Yes, through the chair, I do. Our total calls for the whole year is just over 18,000. Say at 5 and 6 is 624. 6 and 7, 434. 7 and 8, 483. Between 8 and 9, 174. And between 9 and 10, there were 63.
Further questions from members of council? I'm going to go to Councillor Darling, then Councillor Charlie.
And just to confirm, those numbers were for the whole year. So between 9 and 10, there were 63 calls for the whole year, and 8 to 9, 174, which would be less than one every other day. So, okay, thank you.
Director Wills, I'm wondering if you could give us the numbers. The percentage numbers you gave us were just Monday to Friday. After 5 p.m., you said 9% of calls. So what is the total number of calls you received after 5 p.m., Monday to Friday? Just because 9% of 18,000 is quite a number, but I'm guessing that that would include Saturday and Sunday?
The chair, no, yes. Service ends at 6:05 on Saturday. So there is a little bit included between 6 and 7, you're right.
Is it fair to assume that we're talking about over 1,600 calls received after 5 p.m.?
1,778.
And based on that, are there other questions? Because I know we had a debate last council meeting on a particular paragraph or item. Councillor Beatty.
Thank you, Mayor Henderson. As mentioned last week, I do think 9% of calls is still a significant portion of the community we're servicing. So I would like to put an amendment on the floor, and that is just simply to remove the one paragraph as the clerk has taken the initiative to put on the screen. So it's just removing the approval of reducing of the call center.
And for just everyone's benefit, I know here we had a great discussion last week. Could I ask you to read just that part for anybody listening at home?
Yes, sure. So the motion to amend would be to remove the paragraph that reads, further that council approve reducing the call center operating hours to match the operation hours of Century Transportation for a savings of approximately $29,000 annually. Report option 2.
Okay, seconder. Councillor Chorley, further discussion. Councillor Chorley.
I fully support the amendment, but I also appreciate council's ambition in finding efficiencies and finding potential areas of saving. I don't think that this is an area of savings that really makes sense for our end user, and I think it's really important that we are putting ourselves in the shoes of our residents who are trying to use a new program. Many of our residents, we do have an older population. Not everyone has moved over onto cell phones and into the digital world. I think for this new system of transit, which I think is going to work really well, but we have to make it accessible to people who are not necessarily using the app. Having over 1,700 calls just in the trial alone, those are calls, those are rides, people who are looking to use the service who wouldn't be able to if we were to trim this element of call service. So I think it would be a false economy, and I do think we need to spend the extra money to have call service available at all times.
Any other comments from members? Deputy Mayor?
Just one question. By having the word annually as opposed to just for this budget year, could this be readdressed and looked at once we get another full volume of calls for the 2023 budget? How much longer into the future is this word annually restricting council's future? Because we're in a huge deficit for the transit in this town, and I just wondered, how much are we restricting future council deliberations of the budget?
Do you wish to comment on that at all, Director Mills? Maybe not, but I'm just going to offer it to you anyway.
Sure, through the chair, the Deputy Mayor, I think that's a good idea. At budget time, we can look at this again, see what the numbers are in another, I'm not sure when exactly the time frame will be, but it's several more months, and we'll actually have, a more normal year to have to compare the calls for as far as comparison to last year and the year before with the pandemic. So I think that's a good idea. We'll look at it again in the fall, or at least close to when we're doing budget deliberations again.
Councillor Burkett.
I think based on the numbers, if we can just get the ridership up and the participation, even if it's a matter of educating people that they can call in and they don't have to use the app. And I think Director Wills pointed out something critical last week that I had further reflection on was we didn't have an opportunity to educate the public and get out to the community like we normally would because of the COVID situation. So I think hopefully educating the members of public through workshops, engagement, whatever, to encourage them to use this system, I think is going to be a critical aspect going forward.
And yes, Councillor Burkett, I agree with you, because I know last week Director Wills indicated they would do a much stronger educational program, especially for seniors in this environment, because they don't know the different options. And I know how restricted we were during the COVID environment. Are there any other comments? Otherwise, I'll call the vote. Any others? Call the vote on the amended motion. All those in favor? Against? carried. And going back, we'd have to, I guess I can ask the clerk, do we have to read the whole thing, Mr. Larmer, or if I just get a mover, seconder, would that, as amended, work? Just avoiding that one paragraph? Okay, Mr. Larmer would like us to do the whole thing. So back to you, Councillor Darling.
Okay, Your Worship, the motion is from the Committee of the Whole regarding the on-demand transit pilot results for the Town of Cobourg, and the action recommended is, whereas the Committee of the Whole meeting on May 9th, 2022, Council considered a memo from the Director of Public Works regarding the on-demand transit pilot results. Now therefore be it resolved that Council direct staff to implement a fully on-demand transit service, which is option 1 of the on-demand transit pilot results. And further, that Council approved the purchase of 2 Small Arboc 8mm specialty vehicles, report Type B, at an approximate cost of $160,000 each, for a total cost of $320,000, with a total municipal contribution of $85,344, which is approximately 26.67%. And through Metrolinx, monitor the possibility of purchasing a hybrid version of the Type B vehicle. And further, that Council approve ending the hours of operation at 9 p.m., a reduction of 1 hour, for an approximate savings of $20,000 annually, report option 1. And further, that Council authorize staff to renegotiate the transit operation contract with the current provider for the remaining 2 years to align contract fees with the approved transit service option in vehicle types that is not to exceed the 2023-2024 fees of the current contract.
Seconder. Councillor Burkett, further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Against? Carried. We're now off to 12.4, Parks and Recreation Services with Councillor Chorley.
Because, you know, like, and I think that she's being very